Well, I want to welcome you to Let's Talk Relationships Coast to Coast. I'm Chuck Starnes here in San Jose, California, and I'm with Elissa Glickman in New York City. And oh my, it's cold there. It's still snowing, and
Yes.
we are coast to coast. Where it's snow there, it's warmer here, but we've been colder than usual. So, what, Elissa, you brought up a subject that I thought would be really good for us to talk about, and it has to do with the stress that couples face when there are events or when you're planning a trip or something like that. Tell us what you would like to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that, when I work with a couple, I often talk about this. And I think it's really a helpful tip that when you're planning a trip, or say, in the future when we're hosting family for a holiday or something like that, they might be coming for dinner or to stay over from out of town or something like that, or taking your own trip, a lot of times there's a lot of stress and a lot of buildup about that event. And it's not too often that couples just decide, you know what, let's really talk about this. Let's talk about our expectations. If we have any particular things that we're worried about that we really need support with. So I really think it's a great idea, and we've talked about this. We both agree to have a dialogue before an event like that. Have a safe conversations dialogue about anything that might be going on, the feelings and the needs about this upcoming event. So that's what I'll say for now, and then I'll hand it back, and I can add on again after.
Okay, so yeah, I love that idea because we talk a lot about using safe conversations to get out of trouble when you're in trouble, when you're in a
Right.
conflict. But what you're saying is that this is a way to use the safe conversation tool to prepare ahead of time so that expectations are set.
Exactly.
I like
Exactly.
I really like that idea. And you said that we decide to sit down and talk about it and set expectations. I personally, I don't even think that even comes to my mind. I mean, I'm just kind of always in kind of a default mode until we run into trouble. One of the things I have learned is that when we run into trouble, I know how to stop and then do the conversation and in a sense reconnect, resolve the conflict, and move on. That we've learned, and I'm excited to share that with people. But this is a whole new idea of doing it ahead of time.
Right. And I really think it's important because these are things that often get couples kind of tripped up. They're, a vacation, it's a wonderful thing, of course. But, say they're have different ideas about making plans, or making that one likes to plan ahead and one likes to be more spontaneous. Maybe they're visiting family and there are some concerns about that one of them feels left alone or stuck with somebody in the family, or that kind of thing. And so a lot of times it's similar to what we talked about last week, actually, with that couple, Ben and Laurel,
Mhm.
that even if you're doing like an event like going together to a work event, you could, if they talked ahead about this, if Laurel could have said something like, I get a little anxious when I go to these events. I don't like to, it's fine. I know you have to do your thing, but if you can just check with me every once in a while, just look at me, wave, something like that, come over, just make sure, then I will feel so much more comfortable.
That could really help them out a lot. I like
Yeah.
that because if, like you say, when you're dealing with vacations, I've heard couples say, wished couples well as they went on vacation. After the vacation, I asked how it went. Didn't go so well. Why? Because one of them got triggered and they didn't talk to each other the first day, and then it took them a while to warm up. And by that time, the vacation was over, and it wasn't so good.
Yeah. It could be so disappointing and so painful. There's a lot. It's like New Year's Eve every single day on vacation.
Mm.
There's a lot of sort of this inward false expectation of it being like fireworks and all
Mhm.
this stuff, but really you just really need to communicate, talk about it, get on the same page about these things and discuss it. Maybe somebody wants to just rest on the beach, the other person wants to be really active. So you talk about it, hear each other in a safe way, and then work it out so everybody's needs can be met.
Boy, that is such a good idea. So,
Yeah.
Alyssa, how do we become conscious enough to do that? I mean, I guess experience, if you've had tough times, let me just say, if you to our listeners, if you've had a tough time around events, like Elissa was saying, you've got one of you has expectations of doing nothing and being on the beach. Another one is adventurous and wants to see the sights. That's a recipe for disaster if you don't talk about it. Or going to the in-laws, as soon as she says, oh, everybody loves my parents, and he feels left out and he doesn't know how to talk about it, and that's a source of contention. Those kinds of things, we specialize in helping you resolve those things. But I love it that Alyssa's putting it forth. Let's talk about it ahead of time, set expectations, and then we have smooth sailing, a great time together. Everybody then gets what they want. And I'm a big believer in that. You go on a vacation, just even a weekend. Let me share an example with you. Sandy and I were at odds one Friday night. She says, let's go to the beach tomorrow. We live just, 30 minutes from the beach here. And I say, I want to work on my home office and get it ready for next week. And we have two different ideas, right? But in talking about it and dialoguing about it, we came up with a mutual purpose, because going to the beach was not the purpose. Staying home and working on the office was not the purpose. The purpose was behind that. Those were strategies to get what we wanted. So I asked Sandy, why do you want to go to the beach? She says, because I want to see some beauty, I want to be inspired, and I want to get away and spend some time alone with you, uninterrupted. Well, I would be crazy if I didn't want that for her, right? So I said, I want that for you. She says, why do you want to stay home and work on your office? Well, I everything's disorganized. I want to get it together. I got some ideas. I want to come out of the Monday morning. I want to come out of the shoot ready to go. And so she says, I want that for you. And if you know Sandy, she's an interior designer. So she's all about order and beauty and everything. So she was, so we actually agreed on our purpose. So what we did is we combined them. And then we said, so we talked and we said, well, how about this? What if we get up and go to the beach tomorrow morning? And then tomorrow afternoon, when we come home, we'll stop by Home Depot, we'll pick up the supplies. And then Sunday afternoon, we'll work on your office together. Boom. There it is.
So what seemed like two completely different agendas and completely incompatible, when you lowered the reactivity, connected through a dialogue with safety, you could really look at the needs behind the desire to do these things and come up with something. It made sense. You could each validate each other's needs. Exactly. And come up with something without so much contention and animosity. You can really be together and look at each other's needs, which is the same idea as this. That makes total sense.
Yes. And just in talking it through with you, I appreciate that, because now I realize, yeah, I get that, because we have experienced that. I just didn't realize it. But let me just say to our listeners, that is so important to come to what we would call a mutual purpose, a sense of being together and connected. Compromise. A lot of people say, well, we need to make compromises in marriage. I say, no, the compromise means you both lose. Or bulldozing, she always gets her way because they're pushing and one gives in. No, one loses and one wins that way too. But when you have mutual purpose, you both dialogue to where you both get what you want. Mm-hmm. Or let's say the purpose is truly art cross, like there's something that I want to do, but family takes precedent, priority over that. Well, by dialogue, we can come to the place where we understand the longer term or the higher purpose. And when I understand that, then it's easier for me to not just give in, but get on board with what's best and what we have together in common. But it always comes back to that dialogue that you were talking about and doing it ahead of time.
Right. And knowing and having the tools and to learn the tools, one thing you could do is, we are having a workshop in March on a Sunday on March 7th. It's in the afternoon. So more like the end of the weekend. In New York, it'll be 4 p.m. In California, 1 p.m. So join us and learn these tools so they're really at your disposal, because they're really pretty simple. once you have this and you really try to focus on doing things in this different, way that's more upfront, and you can really get on the same page, and it really makes it, a really pleasant experience, and you
It
can
really does.
yeah, in a really nice way.
It turns a potential conflict into a pleasant, wonderful, fully alive experience.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much.
We look forward to seeing you on March the 7th. We're going to have our link up soon for you to go and register, but pencil that date in. We'd love to have you at our Safe Conversations workshop. And let me encourage you that if you enjoyed this brief little talk about relationships, Elissa and I talk about relationships coast to coast every week. And if you want to go back, and you can see lots of interesting topics, helpful topics that we've talked about in the past, everything from how to handle frustrations to how to understand and identify your fear of intimacy and deal with that so you can be closer connected. And it's all right there on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page. So we'd love to see you there.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.